In the meantime, the federal government has assured citizens that reforms being put in place, especially in the tax and oil sector, will help revive the nation's ailing economy. Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, while informing citizens of the direction the current government intends to take, says that government will partner with the private sector to boost foreign and direct investment into the economy. News Centre's Marvelous Obomanu completes this report.
With Nigeria's economy on the decline in the last few years, much expectations have been placed on the new government by citizens to get the economy back on track. President Bola Tinubu, while assuring Nigerians of his commitment to transforming the fortunes of the nation, has continued to reiterate the 8 critical areas that the new government will focus on. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy says that this will reposition the nation's economy.
Private investment, and worldwide, there are huge flows of foreign direct investment once you give investors the right conditions.
We want to be the destination for all investors, big, small, medium, all sizes, so long as what you're doing is legitimate. And we don't want government to come in your way of doing that business and thriving. We want Nigerian companies and businesses to become global.
Although some Nigerians remain skeptical that the policies already put in place to kickstart critical sectors of the economy may not be realizable and end on paper, the minister says that the president is committed to his objective and has ordered all serving ministers to achieve results or take a bow.
He's going to have specific targets, objective measures of performance so that Nigerians can see the targets he set and measure him and the team against them.
He adds that government has identified the tax sector and has already put up an effective and efficient tax team in place to deliver on its objectives. The oil sector reforms is also being targeted to ensure steady oil production in order to boost revenue generation.
If you look at our tax expenditure report over the past 3-4 years, on the average, we're giving away around 6 trillion naira per annum. That's significant. What we have not been measuring enough is the benefit we are getting from that.
The oil and gas industry has huge potential and possibilities for providing all the FX requirements of this country. But you can't do this except you are able to produce and also take it to the market.
The minister urged Nigerians to support the economic policies of President Tinubu.
His key priorities are to improve the lives of Nigerians by providing food security, by ending poverty.
With all these assurances and policies made, what will be going on in the minds of Nigerians will be how will these policies translate into improving their lives, reducing the cost of transportation and the cost of food in the market, plus the general cost of living. Marvelous Obomanu reporting for News Central.
Thank you, Marvelous, for that report. To better understand this, we're joined by Abiodun Kayode-Ali, an economic and tax analyst. Thank you for giving us your time. There are 8 points, inclusive of food security, economic growth, tax reforms, and others, which, in your opinion, are low-hanging fruits and which will be achieved much later. Mr. Kayode-Ali, can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Thank you for having me, Felicity. I would pick the 7th and the 8th point, the ones that have to do with tackling corruption and the rule of law. Now, these are agendas or these are action points that don't require much significant investment like the others, right? And this simply has to do with the attitude of government, right? The tone that the government officials, public officers are able to adopt in order to instill confidence, not just in domestic investors, but also in foreign investors. Because at this point in time, like the government officials have said, Nigeria is in need of revenue. So if you're trying to attract foreign investment into the country, or you are trying to prevent outflow of resources from the country, you need to instill confidence in such a way that you guarantee investors that our yes is our yes, and whatever laws we put in place would actually stand by it. So that's very important. Once we can address that, other critical areas of other critical action points of that agenda, such as food security as well as national security, those are key things that need to be addressed. Right. So when you talk of national security, you are talking about securing lives and properties, right? A lot of investors, by the time they hear news of incidents going on in one part of the country, they are scared and they believe it's covering the entire part of the country. So once we're able to address these things, as well as address our national assets, such as in the oil and gas sector, right, with respect to declining production of oil, once we're able to address these things, we're able to draw in the much needed revenue. Then most importantly, because we're more interested in people, right, cost of living, by how much are people paying to gain access to food, good food, nutritious food. I think these are other key areas that need to be tackled. But the first of these things for me, low-hanging fruits, has to do with the attitude of government in terms of following the rule of law and attending to corruption.
There's a lot of talk about public-private partnership. The finance minister himself mentioned that that it will be used to achieve inclusive growth. But then again, there's always this concern. Will this include open bids or mere announcements of preferred partners?
Okay, so what is expected because of the inclusive government, right, that is being run? What is expected is actually open bids, right? That's what is expected. Though we do know that there is a high possibility of having preferred bids, but what is expected is transparency, right? And by doing that, there will be a need for a display request for bidders to come to the table, right? And based on their proposals, based on their technical skills, based on their expertise, as well as their experience, right? And also their financial status. This will be the key factors that will be looked into in making their selection. But what is expected is that all individuals or all private companies that are interested in carrying out these PPPs, they will be called. And these skills will be the critical things that will be looked at in selecting them for these public-private partnership programs.
To be fair, are there any situations that could mandate having a preferred bidder? Please give example if you can to explain this, and as briefly as possible.
Okay, all right, not a problem. Okay, so I talked about the expertise, right? So we do know that when it comes to projects, there are some companies that have this long-standing experience, right? And also in terms of being able to finance the project, because it's the private sector that will be responsible for the financing at this point in time, right? So expertise is actually something that is very important. And a good example is if you look at the MM2 project that was being done by Courtney Services, right, in partnering the federal government. They have the finance and they also have the expertise. So these are two critical things that will be looked at when it comes to selecting a preferred bidder for the PPP projects.
All right, Mr. Abiodun Kayode-Ali, I wish we had more time, but thank you very much for your brief contribution.
Thank you for having me, Felicity.